Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the One United podcast. I'm joined by Henry. How are you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm good. You?
I'm very well, yeah. If you missed the first episode, be sure to go and watch that. I think it was a pretty good introduction. Covered a lot of bases.
A bit intense, but good.
Yeah, towards the end, definitely.
Yeah. Right.
Right, we'll kick things off then. So, obviously, the big news this week, the Premier League's coming back.
Yeah. I mean, it's been kind of long awaited. There's part of the kind of United fan base that have been hoping that wouldn't be the case, because the last thing that we wanted was Liverpool to win a title on merit. I mean, them winning a title through being given the title would have been the best possible outcome or null and void the season. But obviously, yeah, I mean, we're glad to get it back, but at the same time, it's going to be a tough couple of weeks. The first couple of games are going to be tough if Liverpool win the title. So
Yeah, I think it's getting to a point of lockdown now where Liverpool's become irrelevant. You just want to watch football again.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Bundesliga is becoming a bit boring now. I've had enough of that. I just want United back.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are the same. Obviously, you've got the playoffs as well in leagues 1, 2, and I still don't know what is going on with the championship. I think they're trying to kind of resume the season. That's their plan, but they've been getting a lot more positive tests for COVID than the Premier League. So whether that will actually happen, I don't know. But for leagues 1 and 2. League 2 definitely going to have the playoffs, and League 1 is obviously going to have some good fixtures as well. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. Finally, it's taken its time, but we've got it eventually.
You mentioned the playoffs. You're obviously an Exeter City fan as well. Well, do you think they've got a good chance of going up? They obviously a bit of poor form towards the end of the season.
I'm so apprehensive as an Exeter fan right now. Obviously, I've only been living up here for like 10 years or whatever, but I've obviously given a lot of money in terms of tickets and support to the club as much as I can. They're a local side, so it's important to keep your local teams kind of going and give them as much help, because they need the money more than anything. These clubs, they need the fan base. So yeah, I'm nervous, a little bit nervous, because the last 2 times that Exeter have got into the playoffs, we got to the final, and then for some reason I don't know, it's quite agonising to watch, especially considering I've been to both of the finals. And you think the first one, when you lose, you're like, yeah, okay, fair enough, probably didn't deserve to win that. And the second one, you're like, okay, we've got a real chance here. Coventry are a good side. They brought, some of my family are Coventry based. They hadn't been to see them for like a season or 2 because they've been terrible. And 50,000 people show up to watch them in the playoff final. So if that's not plastic, I don't know what is. And then changed tactics, changed the team for that game, lost it badly. I'm thinking third time lucky, but at the same time, I'm really, it couldn't have been a worse kind of scenario for Exeter this season, because the playoffs is the last thing the fans wanted, especially not being able to go to the games as well.
I think the problem is going to be you're in such a high pressure scenario after you've had so long off. I think the good thing about the Premier League is these games aren't as important. You can build your way back in, whereas these Exeter players and all these playoff teams are being dropped straight into their most important game in years.
Yeah, and we've got players come back from injury as well, so it might not click straight away, which is a big concern, because Exeter play a very certain style of play. And it's okay for teams like Northampton, because they just, when I went to watch them Exeter away at Northampton, I think they kicked the ball out of the ground about 5 times. So that's what they do. The ball comes down to the defenders, and they'll just literally stick it in any part of the country they can. They're like, oh, I'll stick that one southwest now, or I'll stick that one over the north stand. Look at that, brilliant. So they're just they're kind of a long ball kind of side. So it'll be okay for them because all they do is just bully people, push people around. So yeah, nervous. Try not to think. I'm trying not to think about it before Thursday comes. But when the day does come, it's going to be pretty tense, especially with no fans in the stadium because that's what kind of makes lower league teams tick.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, back to the topic at hand then. The Premier League returns. Obviously, the big game to start things off is going to be Arsenal City. Are you looking forward to watching Arsenal getting embarrassed again?
I mean, you kind of get bored of it after a while. It's not even them getting embarrassed; it's them embarrassing themselves.
Yeah.
Because they put shame to their club, a lot of their players. I mean, yeah, it's you look at their side and you think it's okay spending 90 million, 70 million, whatever how they want to spend on a striker or whatever. That defense is a joke man's team. That is actually embarrassing. So it will be nice to watch them get kind of, bullied and schooled. It's kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just they'll just be pushed aside like that bit of pizza in the morning that you see in the fridge. You're just like, I don't want that anymore. So you just brush it aside. So there, Arsenal, I don't have any high hopes for them. Obviously, it's not nice to see City win all the time, but at City and Liverpool, I'd probably choose City to.
Yeah, I think a lot of United fans would. And then obviously,
What do you think of Arsenal? What do you think of their chances?
I think if they get battered against City, the morale's out the window, and I don't even think they get the challenge for Europe. Whereas if they manage to somehow sneak a result or they perform well against City, I think they're in with an outside shot of possibly Champions League because it's a lot tighter than we think it is up there.
Yeah.
I think
I mean, an outside shot of ninth.
Yeah.
Outside shot of ninth.
If City batter them, I think they'll struggle to get into Europa.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it's like a margin of like 4 or 5, I think, which it potentially could be. I know it's the first game back, so it might not be as high scoring as we think. But yeah, if it's a pasting, then Arsenal are in a bit of trouble. And when what happens when they concede 1, they concede 5. That's how it works with Arsenal. They concede 1, they fall apart for about 30 minutes, and then they concede. Ridiculous amount of goals. That's just the kind of their trademark of their club over the last 15 years. So yeah.
And then moving on to the highlight of our week, Friday night, United are away to Spurs.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those where you don't know what's going to happen. Everyone's so gassed about Bruno and Pogba, and I am, but if the last is obviously a non-competitive game, so I guess you can't really count it as anything to go by. But if that last game against West Brom, which we lost 2-1, is anything to go by when Bruno and Pogba played midfield, then it could be a difficult night because Mourinho doesn't go out to batter teams or anything. He'll go out to stop teams playing football. That's what he'll do, especially with the Spurs side they've got. It's not a fantastic side. So they'll go out to kind of nullify the United threat and then probably counter-attack. So again, I can't really say this is going to happen in that game because obviously we know anything can happen in the Premier League, but at the same time, it is Spurs and it is a difficult game, whether we like it or not. With obviously they've got all their players back, we've got all our players back now. So, but we're still, again, it's I don't know what your kind of take on is, but yeah, I'm not sure.
I think if you played this fixture 3 months ago, I'd be very, very confident we'd get all 3 points. But because it's such a tough fixture, coming straight back from the break, we've seen with the Bundesliga, teams are struggling coming straight back in. Obviously, Atletico Madrid dropped points as well this weekend. They've not found it easy. So I'm just worried about how the team clicks again. But I think the big news is Dele Alli suspended, isn't he? Now I don't know whether that's going to be a negative or a positive for Spurs. It depends. Depends what Dele
Well,
Alli is up on the
if
day.
the start of the season's anything to go by, they're in for a treat
Yeah,
because he was. I mean, would you say terrible? I think it's borderline. He wasn't he wasn't very good. He wouldn't have made it into
yeah,
to most mid-table sides the way he played. Um, so it won't be a big miss. I mean, they've got their players back now, like Bergwijn and Kane and Son. They're all back. So yeah, that's more my concern than anything else.
yeah.
Really.
So how would you line up United for the return then? We're assuming everyone's fit, no last minute injuries. How do you
Mm.
start?
Obviously, De Gea in goal. I
Yeah,
wouldn't put Lee Grant in at this kind of stage, or Romero for that matter. Um, yeah, the back four speaks for itself, really. I don't think you can make any changes. Whether we'll play a back five, I don't know. It might be that he goes with a back five and puts Shaw as left centre back, and then Maguire and Lindelof. Or I think the more likely solution is a back four because you want to include one extra midfielder.
yeah.
So Shaw and Wan-Bissaka, I don't think you can really argue with those positions. Williams was good, but then he had a game. Was it Astana? I can't remember who it was. I think it was a home game, Europa League or something, where he looked a bit kind of flaky and a bit,
I think it's to
okay.
be expected at his age. I think.
Yeah, I mean he's only just coming through, so you can't really rely on him in the big games at the moment. He'll edge his way back into the side, I'm sure. As Luke Shaw will kind of progressively get a bit older, and whether he's definitely good enough, I don't know. There's been issues with him as well before.
Yeah.
But again, the back four, I think personally, I don't know what you think, but it speaks for itself for me. I don't think you can really make any changes to that.
Yeah. Then moving on.
What are you thinking? I'm thinking he'll go for one defensive midfielder,
I
which
hope.
will probably be Matic.
Yeah.
You want a bit of control in there. I've always kind of backed Matic, even though he did have a period of time before Bruno came in where he looked a bit kind of, I wouldn't say out of his depth, but he looked a bit slow, a bit kind of half-paced, really. But the midfield three, I think he'll either have Pogba as a box-to-box or have two attacking.
Yeah.
Box-to-box is more likely because that's the kind of thing that Solskjaer goes with. He likes to have a player that can kind of go up and down the pitch and kind of roam. And then Bruno, obviously, you got those three in the middle of the park, and then Rashford, James, and Martial. I don't think you can really
No.
change that. You could bring Lingard in, but again, underperformer.
I think James would be a good option as well because Spurs have got a pretty old back line, haven't they? I think especially if they play Vertonghen at left back like they have done quite a lot this season. I think
Yeah,
James
I don't know whether that will happen. I think they'll go for a back five. I really do. Mourinho, although he's notorious for a back four, they need defensive support on the kind of fullback positions. Aurier is one of the most untrustworthy right backs in the league, if not in the world. I mean, he's like the right back version of Eric Bailly at times, where he'll just 2-foot someone for no reason, make rash decisions, bring people down the box. He's just a bit kind of erratic with his decision making. So he needs backup if he's going to play there. And obviously Alderweireld Tanganga will start, I think, because he's got a bit of pace.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they'll probably go with the back five. But if it's Vertonghen up against James, then Vertonghen is gonna be puffing after about 5 minutes. So I wouldn't back him in that kind of situation.
See, I've been seeing a lot on Twitter, and it's made me think about how they'll set up. See, I don't know if Solskjaer will go for a back three. I think it's quite likely. You see,
Yeah.
he's pulled it off against City and Chelsea this season. Obviously, away at Stamford Bridge, and then he's done it. He's used it multiple times against City, and they've not been able to handle it.
Yeah.
It depends on how he views Spurs as an opposition. So obviously, the gap between Tottenham and Chelsea is even noticeably big. So I think it
Yeah,
depends whether Solskjaer feels his team is better than Spurs.
I'm really not sure what we're going to do, because I will say that the times we've been playing back three, we haven't had a fully fit side.
Yeah,
So I think it's been overcompensating in defence with the thinking behind it that we'll go into a game and have very little possession, which I think will be a different kind of situation with the Spurs game. I think they'll sit back, and you can't have two sides that are sitting back because it would just end up in a boring 0-0 draw. So I think we'll take the kind of assertive role in the game and look to dominate as much as we can. Obviously, you've got two creative midfielders in there now, which we didn't have. I mean, when he tried to play Pereira with Bruno, I mean, yeah, talk about a horror film. That is quite disturbing to watch. Andreas try, although he is a pre-season Perlo, he just doesn't seem to be able to do it in the big games. So
yeah, I think
yeah,
I'd agree with you there. I think with the return of Pogba and Rashford, you can't have two players of that quality being used to sit back. So that's why I think
yeah.
I'd probably, especially, I'd rate us as a better team than Spurs at the minute.
At the moment, our team is better than Spurs.
Yeah,
I don't think that's even questionable. Um,
I think he's got
with,
to go back and really.
yeah,
Uh,
fluidity. That's what it is. It's more fluidity than anything,
yeah,
because with Liverpool, man to man, when they started out with Jurgen Klopp, or when they started to get this team together they've got now, man to man, it's not an amazing side,
no,
because you've got, if you line them up against a team like Barcelona, you've got Wijnaldum and Henderson in midfield, and you're thinking, okay, but it's a balance, kind
yeah,
of balancing act for Klopp, and it works. So I think that's the more important thing, rather than whether we're better man to man, because you can have a fantastic group of players, but they might not stick.
yeah, yeah.
So that for me is the most important thing. And with that front three, obviously, a right winger is needed desperately. Not knocking Dan James, he's had a decent season, but he's not ready for the big time. You can tell he's not ready for the big time. He still got a bit of work to do on his decision making as well, in the final third, and finishing and so on. So, and he's only young, so you can't really rely on him to take the side forward when he hasn't really done it with United this season, or he didn't even really do it with Swansea, to be honest.
No.
So yeah, once we got that position sorted, I think we're looking
See,
a bit.
I think the thing with Dan James is next season, if we get in a quality right winger, I think he would prove to be a real quality substitute, bringing him on at sort of 70 minutes against tired legs, just causing problems for a defence. I think that's where he could really shine for United.
Yeah, well, against tired legs, I mean, if you see him coming on, although he hasn't got the final product of a top player, really, you see him coming on, and you think, as a left back or a right back, you think, oh dear, this is going to be a big problem now. You're 50% kind of, you're like, oh, okay, my legs are a bit aching, and then you've got this guy who can do the 100 meters in God knows how many seconds, and he'll just, he'll knock the ball past you and run, and yeah, like 70, 80 minutes, it's impossible to stop that.
Well, then, just to round up things with United and Spurs, then, what are your predictions for the game?
I'm notorious for not predicting United games, because every single time I predict a game, it goes horribly wrong. So I don't know. As I said, I can't really call this one. It's not one of those games I can say a definitive winner.
Yeah.
If it was a different manager, maybe I'd be a little bit more leaning towards United. But it's Mourinho, and the guy is, however much people say his tactics are outdated or whatever, he is a footballing genius, and he knows what he's doing. So, and he will do anything possible to stop that United attack. So I could not guess what's going to happen if I tried. What about you?
It depends on how United approach the game. I think if they go attacking, it'll give Spurs the edge, because I think even with Bruno Fernandes, United have struggled to break teams down.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if United leave themselves a bit more open, give Spurs a bit of sense of security, and then really attack, really hit them when they're least expecting it. You've got the likes of Pogba and Rashford now adding to that side that was so good before the break. I think United
Yeah.
could comfortably get a result, but then I also feel Spurs could do a job on them. I think on their day, Spurs are a very good team.
Exactly. And I think it's almost impossible to call. I really do.
I think if I had to call it, I'd go with a 2-1 like we saw earlier in the season. I think United will nick it. I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet. I think Kane's had his rest now. He'll be back to full form.
I couldn't disagree with you, but also I couldn't agree with you. I really don't know what's going to happen. I'm on the fence with it. I can't really, call it, especially as the first game back. So there's no real form, is there? You can't say, you won so and so game before. United won the City game was the last game that we played, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You can't say, we won the City game 3 months ago, so now we're going to be fantastic now. You can't say that. So I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, be interesting to see.
So moving on, we mentioned Pogba and Fernandes earlier. The
Yep.
first time we're going to see them in the game. There's a lot of speculation as to whether they will or won't work together. First of all, do you think they will?
You'd like to think so. I mean, if they don't, then I don't know what will if they don't work. If you've got two world-class players that can't kind of find a way. I mean, the system's got to work for them, for starters. But if they can't find a way to work as a pairing, if you try 2 or 3 systems out and they don't work, that's going to be a bit of an issue. So you'd like to think so, but we haven't seen them before, and it's all right seeing a couple of training videos where one pings a pass 40 yards to the other and he scores. That's fine, but there's no opposition or competition there. So, I hope it works. I really do, because it would be so underwhelming if it didn't. And I think they're probably thinking the same thing as well, and the management team thinking, okay, right, we've got a really big chance here. If we mess this up now, it could spell trouble. So, I think so. They're both good enough players. But again, I couldn't say 100%. What do you think?
I think the only way they can work together is if you give them both complete freedom going forward. I think you've got to play them with a Matic sort of player who will sit right in front of the defence, who is not bothered about attacking, and will cover for both of them. I think if you played Fred as that pivot with them, I think then you'd be in trouble because he's not got that defensive ability that Matic has.
Not strong enough.
I think the reason you have to do that is Fernandes, it goes without saying, you have to push him up the field. His goal scoring ability and his creative ability, you've got to have him in and around the box. And I think
I agree.
it's the same with Pogba. You saw the run he went on when Ollie first came in was because of how far up the pitch he was pushed. I think he does very well sitting back and being a deep line playmaker. He's brilliant at passing the ball, but I don't think that's where he's most effective.
No, neither do I. No. Anyone can spray a 40-yard pass. Anyone. Yeah. It's okay doing that for the whole game. It's okay, it's okay pinging the odd cross-field ball, but that doesn't make any real impact. They're nice to watch. I'll give them that. They're, so pleasing to watch someone ping a perfect pass 40 yards. But you're right, it doesn't have as much kind of effect as if he was in the final third. Yeah.
Moving on to the next thing then, there's been a lot of there's been a lot of talk at the minute about Dean Henderson and where he's going to be. Solskjaer's obviously come out and said he's going to be the future number one. But De Gea's, he's 29, 30? He could still have another 5 years in him as far as goalkeepers go.
Yeah.
So do you see any sort of realism in the comments from Solskjaer? And do you think Henderson could become...
Henderson's got a future at United. I have no doubt about that. I really don't. I mean, you're looking at a player that's homegrown, for starters.
Yeah.
And you have to have a quota of homegrown players. in the Premiership. With De Gea, the form he's been in has been a bit iffy over the last year.
Yeah.
He's been kind of making. I mean, I'd say over the last 2 years, he's made more mistakes than he had in the previous 5 years that he's been at United.
I'd probably agree with that, yeah.
So he's making silly errors, mostly handling errors, and this obsession with, I mean, you see all the goalkeeping coaching videos and stuff, this obsession with punching the bloody ball, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So he's been, he'll come out for things and he's now hesitating because, he's being taught 2 different things by two different coaches. Obviously, Emiliano Alvarez was his original coach. Ollie apparently got rid of him because he thought he was having too much control over the training sessions.
Yeah.
Or fell out with him for some other reason, but that's the reason that I saw anyway. So, I mean, with De Gea, you can't have a goalkeeper who's being taught one thing for his whole life, which is by Alvarez, who was his coach at Atletico as well. So he's been taught like that certain, come out, take everyone out with you, catch the ball, command the area. And then you've got, I don't know who this other guy is, apparently he's the ex-Burnley, goalkeeper coach. If you've got the ex-Burnley coach, doesn't that spell a bit of trouble anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, the Burnley keepers are great. They're absolutely great, but they're built for a team that's supposed to finish mid-table. They're not built for a team that's supposed to win the Premiership or be challenging for the Champions League. So their ideas are different. Theirs is clean everything out and get anything on the ball you can. If they get their, right finger or knee or whatever on the ball, it doesn't matter. Theirs is just whack it clear. Whereas United want to, take the ball in, progressively build up again. So this obsession with punching the ball now, just catch the bloody thing. It's there to be taken, there to be caught. And that's been one of De Gea's downfalls. And Henderson, I'll tell you what, he's been a revelation. No one expected what he did this season with Sheffield United. No one expected it. I think he's second in clean sheets only to Alisson, which, I mean, that speaks volumes. So, he's a real hot prospect. And I think you give De Gea another, I don't know, another season. And if it doesn't work out, then I think you're looking at, you can still get a fair amount of money. He's still a top-class keeper. So you can still get a good amount of money for him. And then you've got a player waiting in the ranks it's been his dream to play for United. So he's going to give 120%. That's just how he is. So that's my take on it. What do you think about Henderson?
I think the issue we're going to have is we're going to have one goalkeeper who is, well, for this season, and we'll see about next season, I think he will have been one of the best keepers in the league.
Yeah.
And you've got another keeper who's, on his day, one of the best keepers in the world.
Yeah.
And I think, De Gea's he's got 4 years left on his contract at the end of the season. He's on what, £300,000 a week. I think if you can't sell him, you can't afford to have him sit on your bench. So then what does that mean for Henderson? Because I think it's going to get to a stage, even in the next year, where Henderson overtakes De Gea.
I think so. And I think next season it will be the same as this season. Chris Wilder came out, I think it was today, and said, Solskjaer's been fantastic with Sheffield and the way that he's kind of handled the situation with Henderson. They're trying to strike a deal for next season. Obviously, United are not going to let him leave on a permanent transfer. It won't happen. A loan deal next season back to Sheffield probably looks more, looks better than most deals you can get for him. So I'd do that and then reevaluate at the end of next season.
Yeah, definitely. And then the final United-related topic we've got is it's a long shot, but it's come out in the news recently that Edison Cavani will be leaving PSG this season. Just wanted to know whether you take a punt on him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even describe that as taking a punt. I'd describe that as one of the long shot 25p bets you put on at Sky Bet on a weekend, where you think I've got the opportunity of winning £40,000 or something ridiculous like that, I'll put on a 285,000 to one shot that someone's that these games are going to come through. So I think when it comes to long shots, that's a bit of an understatement. But yeah, I mean, another player who's good, but it could be a Schweinsteiger times two, and I wouldn't really want to do that again. PSG wouldn't let a player go that was in his prime. Wouldn't happen. They're too rich. They've got too much kind of appeal to them. I mean, most players. I'll go out and say most players probably don't go there for the football. They probably go there for the snails and frogs' legs and the Eiffel Tower and Paris as a city and stuff. Yeah, so that's probably why they go there more than anything. So they're paying him a lot of money. China is the obvious one, isn't it? Yeah, that's the obvious solution. I probably wouldn't take a punt. I know he's won a lot of trophies, but he's not the Ibrahimovic style kind of player. He's still got a bit of still got a good amount of quality in him, but you get him for one season and you're paying him like 150 grand a week because he won't take any less than that. Let's be honest. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it.
I think I'd absolutely agree with you. I think the only positive that coming out of signing him would be if you used him to mentor Mason Greenwood. But
that might hinder his progress over the next year. So I think he wants to go.
Yeah, I think the way he's come through the ranks so quickly as well, it's shown he doesn't need that sort of mentoring. And if anything, he can get it from Rashford and Martial.
He can get it from Solskjaer.
Yeah. So I think.
I mean, if you want expert opinion on how to be a poacher and how to score goals, not easily, but how to score the basic goals. I mean, you've got one of the best minds in football for that. So yeah, I wouldn't have any concerns about that at the moment.
So yeah, we're both saying steer clear of him then.
I'd say so. And
then I think the last topic is something you were going to discuss.
Yeah, only a quick 5 minutes. I don't want it to go on like the last one was a little bit more intense than this one.
Yeah.
But it's United related again, so hopefully some people watching this will be able to kind of relate back to it. It's the Marcus Rashford providing school meals for thousands of, I think it's thousands or millions of meals now, but obviously for thousands of kids that are kind of struggling during COVID. Obviously, people aren't in the same luxury situation that a lot of others are in. And that's just the truth of the matter. So he's seen that. Something which the Tory government, I don't know, it's so difficult to sympathise with them. Sorry, to sympathise with them when they're causing a bit of a kerfuffle with the COVID stuff, and a bit of anguish with all the kind of controversy throughout that, and then they've taken away the free school meals. So they're not making any friends at the moment. Rashford's written an open letter to the MPs, calling them out basically, which is a good thing because no one else was going to do it. He's called them out and told them to sort themselves out, and I couldn't agree more with what he said. He was one of those kids at one stage, and it's something you can't really ignore, isn't it? I don't see it as something that you can just sit back and watch happen, especially as a kind of, Rashford isn't like wouldn't describe him as a brilliant mind or whatever. He's just a genuine human being that cares for others, which speaks volumes about his personality and about who he is and what kind of impact he has throughout the squad as well, I'm sure. But yeah, he wrote that he wrote that letter to the MPs, and hopefully they'll turn it around. And I mean, because during COVID, kids want to be able to focus on schoolwork and be able to be ready for going back to school. But then if they're like underfed and going to bed hungry, then you're thinking, okay, that's not good. That's really not good. You've got a real problem, and the government needs to do something about it. It can't just be Rashford. He can't, the government have got billions and billions of pounds to kind of not disposable income, but money that they can use for good. And Rashford doesn't have, he's earning quite a lot a year, but he doesn't have all that money. So appealing to the human side of MPs is the best thing that he could have done. And yeah, I mean, we mentioned before the podcast started about Sports Personality of the Year. We've always found that kind of accolade is given to people for what they do on the whether it's a tennis court or cricket or football or whatever it is. They've always been given accolades for their professional kind of work within the sport. I think it's about time that someone got it. You can't give someone an award for doing 3 months of work at the start of the year. So yeah, give him a good kind of give him the award, give him the accolade. I know a United fan might be a little bit biased, but I think a lot of other fans would be glad if their players were doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think the amazing thing about what he's doing is his age as well. You put it into context where we've just finished our first year at uni. He's only 3 years older than us. Well, he's 3 years older than me. I don't know about yourself.
He's 22 now, I think.
Yeah.
So he's 2 years older than me. And
to have that sort of impact on the country at that age is incredible. I think he's leading on where Raheem Sterling left off as well when he fought against racism. I think it's nice to see football players finally using the platform they've got to make a change in the world.
Yeah, finally. And I mean, a lot of players do it and it goes unnoticed. And we spoke about the media last week. It goes unnoticed a lot of the time. And it's frustrating because us kind of trainee journalists, I'll call us, because we're not effectively qualified journalists, but us kind of trainee journalists, we do research on this stuff week in, week out. And it is damaging to see the way that the media decide to look at things. I know you want to sell papers and stuff, but why can't you do a bit of good and put, someone's image, which is good. Rashford's, image has been helped by this, but I don't think he cares about that. He just wants to get the meals to the kids and allow them to have the same privileges as every person in the world should have. No one should be going hungry. That's just, that's pretty terrible. So no, I think it's fantastic what he's done, and if he doesn't get an award for it, he doesn't. But we all know that he's doing right, and he knows that as well. So that's more important than football for me.
Yeah. Right, and I think we'll end it there.
Yep.
Sounds. It's been nice talking to you again. I think.
Yeah, you too. It's been a very good conversation. I hope everyone watching enjoys the chat. Again, feedback is kind of very helpful for us. And if any of you guys watching want to leave a comment about what you think we can talk about in the future, anything that is maybe personal or not personal to you guys, football or not football, we'll try to cover it. So thanks everyone.
We'll be back to talk about the Spurs game as well, so that'll be exciting.
Exciting or painful? I don't know which one yet.
Exciting at the minute. We'll review it again next weekend, but hopefully we'll try and get another episode out next weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And we might even get someone on with us to discuss.
We can try. We'll try.
We'll see.
But yeah, on that note, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next week.